Hi everyone, this video is a tutorial on how to use ASP.NET Form Authentication with ASP.NET websites. We're going to connect to a SQL Server database and store our tables in the SQL Server. So I prepared a website here that has three sections, actually two folders and two pages. On the root level, the admin folder has the default admin page. This page is just has a heading admin page and a login status. The user folder has one page over here, which is again having one heading with a login status. And so what I want is that the administrators should have access only to the admin page and the general users to have access to the default user page. I have a default page here that allows the user to try to go to admin page and general user, and again I want to limit the access to different categories or different rows of users. Finally, I have a login page that will allow the user to log in or type in login information. The login page has to have the login file name, so this page will be invoked when the user tries to access a page that has user restrictions on who has access to these pages. Alright, so that's about all I need to have in terms of the file structure for my website. So before I start working with form authentication, I need to set up a database with the tables to store the login information. So this is what I will need to do. Go into command prompt, go to the Windows directory, go to Microsoft. I need to have Microsoft.NET, go to the framework and version 4. I'm using 4.5 framework, but basically it's stored in version 4 folder. And within this folder there's a program called ASP.NET register SQL, one word, ASP.NET _register SQL. This is how you will set up the tables in your SQL server so that the login information is stored there. Hit next, setting up my SQL server information. Type in the database IP address that you want to store information on, your server authentication, and the database that you want to work with. I'm going to work with the Northwind database. Hit next and next. Alright, finish. Now if I open up my Northwind database, you'll see in my tables there's a bunch of ASP.NET tables that's been created. Alright. Now, in order for my ASP.NET website to have access to the tables in this in that database, I need to do a couple of things. I want to set up a connection string. Alright, so I have to. The easiest way to do this is create SQL data source control. Configure this to talk to the database, my SQL server. Type in exactly the same IP address, user SQL authentication, and then the database. Hit OK. And I don't really care which table that I've set up for this SQL data source, because I'm not really concerned about this SQL data source. What I'm most interested in is the connection string that's set up for me. The data source, server address, the database, the ID and password, and so on. Now let me just change this name, and this is the crucial part. It has to be local SQL server. Alright, and this is a special name that is set up by ASP.NET, so I need to remove it first and then add it back. All right, remove the name, add back the name with the right IP address, user information, and so on. Now once I've got this all done, I can pretty much delete this. I don't really need this SQL data source. From here I can go to website, ASP.NET configuration, and configuration will allow me to set up my security setting. Without that connection string, this page will not load. So go to security. Let's use a wizard to help us set up our roles and usernames. So access methods from the internet. And first of all, I'm going to enable the roles for this website. Let me add a couple. Administrator role. And then a general user role. Alright, and I'm going to set up a couple of accounts. One is admin, and admin at aa.aa, and I'm going to set up another one, Mike, just a general user. Mike at aa.aa, a at aa, great user. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I need to do. Let me finish at this point and manage the users to make sure they're in the right roles. Okay, so admin, I'm going to set it as an administrator. Mike, I'm going to set it up as a general user. The last thing I want to do is to manage the access roles for each of these folders. For admin, this is what I should have. By default, allows everyone to come in. But this is not what I want. I want to deny all users to come in first. All right. And then I only want to allow administrators to come in. Now I have to move this to the top because these rules are set up so that the system will read from top to bottom. And I want to set it up so that all anonymous users are denied access. So again, anonymous should go all the way up. Okay. So I'll do the same thing for the user. The user roles should have all users denied access in the beginning, and then allowing only the general users to have access. So again, move the thing up because this is how the rules are being read. And finally, allow or denying all anonymous users. If you don't log in, you cannot gain access to it. All right. So I'm pretty much done in this administrative tool. Let's go back to my website in Visual Studio, load up everything. Let me just run this. Google Chrome. My default page is the I guess a startup page. And again, it has two buttons to allow me to go to admin page or the general user. So let's go to the admin page. If I try to log in without anything, it'll give me errors. So if I type in any username, it doesn't work. All right, so let me try to go to admin. Type in the correct ID and password, and it goes to my admin page. All right. Let me log out, and let me just try to go to the admin page again. Admin page, but type in, let me try to go to use Mike to go into the page and see if I can get in. No, I can't. All right, only if I go back to admin then will I be able to go back to the admin page. Alright, let me try to go to the default page again, and again let me just show you how, if I go to general user, I type in admin, and I won't let the admin to come in, but if I type in Mike, and Mike can get in. Alright, so that's the general user page. So that's all for today. The summary of what we have done is that I've set up my file structure so that I have pages for one category of users here, for admin, one category of users here, and then the default allows me to go to different pages, and I have to set up my web.config, and this is done through a SQL data source, but mainly setting up my local SQL server to point to the right database ID and password, and then use the tool ASP.NET configuration to set up my user account and so on. Alright, well, thank you for watching.